who all of a sudden died of supposedly natural causes, and the fourth husband of Lori, who was killed by Lori's brother, who then himself died supposedly of natural causes. So this has been a trail of deaths, and it's amazing that it's taken this long to start to put it all together, and finally maybe there will be justice achieved.
Yeah, DeWitt, I'm looking at what's happening here tonight, all of these developments, and I'm wondering, where did they get the information? How did they know where to go in that backyard? How did they know now was the time to recover? Something happened. They've been investigating this case for months now. Do you think that maybe someone said something?
I would imagine that's what happened, Vinny. It strikes me as very interesting. Has been said, they had been there before, and the only reason I think that they would go back would be if there was some new information, especially in regards to a warrant. There had to be some type of new information that was given that gave them the impression and understanding that there was evidence buried on the premises. Where they got that information from, I would imagine there had to be someone who saw something and maybe were very reluctant to come forward initially, maybe didn't really put two and two together initially, but something clicked, and either it was somebody's conscience or maybe just an evaluation of evidence and or facts that they had that led them to give this information to law enforcement.
Jennifer Brandt, do you think there's any chance that it could have come from Lori Daybell? There she is, locked up, and Chad has not bailed her out. He hasn't bailed her out. I mean, hell, you have to raise some money. I mean, the guy's he writes all these books. He's collecting life insurance for the death of his wife. He's got a house. He didn't sell the house to get her out. Do you think it's possible that just maybe, I mean, you deal with some ugly situations between husbands and wives. Is it possible?
That's for sure. And you know that these people have been through a number of husbands and wives. So it could be that Lori decided that she had enough of Chad and that she was mad at him because he didn't bail her out or didn't do anything really to help her. And maybe it comes from her. We don't know what her involvement is at this point. We don't know if she knows what's going on or if she doesn't. And we don't know if maybe she was the one who tipped them off to let them know to look on Chad's property. I mean, she's been pretty silent all along. She hasn't given up any information, but maybe she's tired of sitting in jail and just waiting to get out. So it'll be interesting to find out what is her involvement in this and what happens with the two of them, if they are going to stick together or if one is going to sort of tell on the other, depending on what they know.
Yeah, Dave Arenberg, like the great state of Florida, the state of Idaho does have a death penalty. We've got 2 children. It's a potentially a double murder here if the identification is made and it turns out to be these children. Lori Daybell made up some stories about what happened to her children, so she is on the hook if in fact this is JJ and Ty Lee that were discovered here in Chad's backyard. So she knows she's on the hook. She's backed into a corner. Do you think that at any point prosecutors had approached her and her attorney to say, hey, if you want to do anything, now's the time, or when the hammer falls, we're going all the way in on this one?
Well, it is an old adage that, first in, first to win, meaning that if you're the first one who cuts the deal with prosecutors, you're going to get the best deal. And so, yeah, it's possible she's the one who tipped off law enforcement. But remember, she's part of this Doomsday cult. And, it's not so easy to get someone to be pried away from the cult. And I don't know if it's because he didn't pay her bail, because her bail is $1 million. So it's pretty steep. I guess if you go to a bail bondsman, it's 10% of that. But I'm not convinced yet that she's the tipster. But there is every incentive for her to make a deal with prosecutors. I must say this, though, that it's been my experience that when you have women defendants who are murderers, juries are less likely to give them the death penalty than to male defendants. Just my own observations and experience. Doesn't mean, though, that it won't be on the table, and that could cause Lori to make a deal. But I'm not convinced at this early point that she's the one who tipped off law enforcement, because she's still in the cult. And she had a very high bail, so I wouldn't put it past this guy for just not being able to afford it.
Mm.
Could have
I
sold the
disagree.
house.
I
could have sold the
disagree,
farm.
Vinny.
But then again,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jennifer.
I mean, first of all, I don't agree that she would get a lesser, that she would get more sympathy from a jury. She's the mother. And I think people are pretty hard on a mother who has involvement in killing their children. So I disagree there. And for the bail, I mean, this guy writes all these books and has all these followers. I think he could come up with the money, certainly, to get her out of jail if he really wanted to. So, I still remain convinced that she may have something to do with finding these bodies, and maybe it is that she's decided to get a conscience and come forward at this point.
By the way, Vinny, don't discount
DeWitt, the other part of this
jailhouse
case.
I'll tell you. Look, I think Jennifer is on to something, and I wouldn't discount, though I understand what Dave is saying, that folks and juries might be a little more sympathetic to a woman or a female defendant. However, when you're talking about somebody who's accused of killing their own children, I mean, that is very damning. And I don't know how a jury really finds sympathy for someone like that if those facts are presented to a jury.
Well, I saw it happen firsthand, unfortunately. Hate to bring it up, but involved the mother from Dave's state of Florida.
Yeah.
A little bit north of where he is, up in Orlando. Not going to say her name tonight, though. DeWitt, though, let me ask you something,
Great
DeWitt.
point.
I want to get
That's a
back to
great
the
point.
cult. I want to get back to the cult, though. The cult part of this, okay? Because Chad and Lori, if in fact they are true believers that the world ends July 22nd, does that impact what is happening right now? Do you think it's possible that these two are oblivious, don't care about what's happening now because they know, DeWitt, they know July 22nd, this all ends?
Well, look, and maybe this will be a test of their faith, okay? And if they are true believers that the world is going to end on July 22nd, I wouldn't expect any of their posture to really change or any movement in a plea or anything from them. If what they believe is that the world is going to come to an end on the 22nd, then why would they? However, reality does set in circumstances like this. We've seen that in many cult followings before, when you are faced with the real and actual circumstance of either criminal punishment or as the death penalty has been floated around. I think that may be a very sobering effect for both of these folks, even if they might have at one time believed that the world is going to end on the 22nd.
Yeah, if I was a prosecutor, I'd say, all right, this is the plea you get before July 22nd. This is what you get afterwards. When we come back, we got a lot more to talk about because there's going to be Chad Daybell in court tomorrow.